Hey guys, this is Callie Butler, the communication specialist for WellStone, and thank you for watching another episode of Virtu-Well Connections. So in our first video, we talked kind of about the trends that one of our adult therapists has seen in her sessions, just from when everything COVID started, and a lot of that had to do with anxiety and depression. So today we're just going to be diving a little bit deeper into the specifics and the reason behind kind of why we're feeling that way, why we're prone to those emotions right now. So I'm excited to talk to Jim Hickman today, just to get another adult therapist perspective about things, and to get some more advice, professional advice for you guys. So Jim, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, then we can go ahead and roll right into it.
Sure, I'm James Hickman. I'm one of the outpatient therapists at WellStone in Coleman, and I'm also a certified peer specialist here in the state of Alabama.
Okay, great. And thank you so much, Jim, for being here today and taking time out of your schedule. And we were just talking a little bit earlier and kind of preparing for this. And I'm really excited to hear your thoughts and just your point of view in almost a more literary way, because I just found out you're an author as well. So I'm excited to just hear your thoughts on this, and I'll go ahead and get into my questions.
Sure.
So fear has been something that has taken a lot of control of all of our minds, and just because the world's in crisis and we weren't expecting that to happen. So how do you suggest handling that fear?
It's important for us to be in touch with our fears. You know, a lot of times what we fear on the surface, like the pandemic, is just covering up fears underneath the surface, the fears that may be related to past trauma. Franklin Roosevelt, he said that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. But really, the only thing we have to fear is the contempt of our fear, because it's important to understand our fears and nurture them and not feel like we're bad people because we have fears.
Yeah.
And then also the Chinese word for crisis is opportunity and danger. So it's important to see the pandemic as a kind of opportunity to be more in tune with ourselves and to think about what's really important to us in life.
Everyone has essentially been isolated for the majority of the year. Some people have families that they've been with, but also some people live by themselves and have just been really disconnected from other people. A lot of folks have lost schedules. Maybe that's gotten a little bit better as time has progressed, but a lot of people have been working from home and maybe just missing out on those little breaks during the day where they could just chat with a coworker, or even if it's about work, you still get that human interaction, just that personal connection. So how do you suggest to further strengthen these connections? We know we can call people, but how do we really strengthen these connections and even maybe get additional?
Yeah, that's a good question, Callie. Isolation really takes a toll on us. We can feel like the walls are just closing in on us. And, you know, one of the things about work is we have friendships at work that are so vital to us. So when you do your work meetings, it's important to connect with the people beforehand and find out how they're doing before just diving right into your meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super important, and I think that would be something, even if everything wasn't happening, just kind of like to check in on people, just to build and again strengthen those relationships that we have, just as a human, just
Yeah.
building those.
Yeah, support groups are really important. So there's a mental health support group you can access through Wings Across Alabama. And they also have a warm line where you can call and speak to a peer support specialist. Mm-hmm. And their website is www.wingsacrossal.org. And then using the technology that we have during this pandemic to connect with folks. I mean, that's one thing that we're fortunate about is we have so much technology that's allowing us to have some connection with everybody.
I think now more than ever, we realize that the end of this is so unknown. So what would be your advice? Like, how can we think in ways and act in ways that make our thoughts just more controllable?
Well, in therapy, we talk a lot about cognitive restructuring. That's changing our thoughts to become more rational.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a variety of ways we do this, and we can teach you all these techniques at WellStone. But asking yourself questions: Is it really the end of the world that I can't go to the ball game? Mm-hmm. And also, it's important to utilize anger management skills that we teach you at WellStone. Mm-hmm. One thing that I've noticed through all this is that a lot of times people, when they're at the store or when they're in other public places, they could really be on edge. Mm-hmm. So you just have to ask yourself, do I want people that are being impacted by their fears to be able to push my buttons and make me angry by their behavior?
You bring up anger in general. So I think, like we were talking about earlier, when we discuss that fear, and just seeing it on the surface, I think in all of these feelings and this whole situation in general has brought, I'm sure, a lot of anger on people, and they don't really know the root of that.
Yeah, and you need to really use a lot of empathy when you're interacting with people,
Yeah, and just realizing what we're feeling and just being more present, I guess, with everything happening and what we can control and what we have the ability to do.
Yeah, that's a good point, Callie. It's important to try to control those things that we can control, because there's so much in the world that we can't control that we can worry about that less if we're managing the things that we can take care of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. That's good to think about. So I really appreciate all of those tips. And is there anything else that you can think of during this time and until this ends, or even just in general, where we can make sure that we're putting, or steps we can take to make sure that we're putting our mental health as a priority?
Yes, it's very important to get out in nature and exercise. Making the most of your time online, so you're not just clicking ineffectually, but really making the most use of your time online.
Yeah, that's great. I think so many of us are just so almost just addicted to our phones right now, because maybe we are trying to find an escape or aimlessly scrolling. So I just love that point of make your time meaningful.
Also, it's important to keep a good sense of humor about things. Mm-hmm. That's very important, especially in your personal relationships. The death knell of any romantic relationship is a lack of sense of humor. Another thing that can affect a household is not having access to the resources we need right now. So it's important to not be shy about asking about what resources are available in the community. Mm-hmm. If you're having problems with your mortgage, you can check into Hardest Hit Alabama at www.hardesthitalabama.com. Mm-hmm. And they help people with mortgage assistance. If you're having problems with food, or maybe need help with utilities and different things like that, the 211 telephone number is a good resource. And they have specialists. All you do is dial 211 and they have a specialist that can help you access different kinds of resources that are available.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a resource that I don't think enough people know about.
Another thing that's going to help during this pandemic is to have some structure throughout your day. Plan meals, activities, sleep, all at certain times during the day, because that's going to be vitally important to you maintaining your mental health during this pandemic.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Sure, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you inviting me.
I think that's all we have today, and we'll talk to y'all on the next episode. Thanks, Jim.